Hi everyone, and welcome to today's video where I'm going to talk to you about my top career mistakes. Before I started my work at my new workplace, I decided to come up with a list of things that maybe I would have done differently. Not everyone's going to relate because everyone has a different story, so I appreciate that, but I'm just going to tell you some things that I would have done differently if I could go back in time, and things that I probably wouldn't do again. So let's get started. The first mistake that I made was specializing too soon. As soon as I qualified, worked in like a general sort of hospital for 2 months, and then because I wanted to move to London, I got a job in a mental health trust within London. And I definitely realised that I made a mistake then, because I feel like you have to have a good foundation of general health knowledge, and going straight to mental health did not help with that kind of development. I would say if you 100% know that that is the route that you want to go down, then go ahead and specialise whenever you can. But if you're not quite sure, then definitely don't go down that route. For me, it was good because it was a stepping stone into London hospitals, because by the time that I applied to London hospitals, I could say that I had some hospital knowledge, even if that was in mental health. But I would say that if I could go back in time, I would still try and stick to general health hospitals, which allow you to rotate and get a lot of knowledge in different areas. Another mistake I made since qualifying about 3 or 4 years ago is underselling myself. So I always find it difficult to sell myself. And that's not in an interview, I just mean in general day-to-day work. I always find it easier to just be like, I don't know, I'm not good, I'm not the best. That's because I kind of don't want to say that I'm good and then for people to be disappointed. But at the same time, I feel like I've definitely been in situations where I haven't been as honest about how good I could be. And so that's something that I definitely want to stop going forward. There's a fine line between underselling yourself and also overselling yourself. And I just want to get that balance right. I don't want to be cocky and arrogant and fake it and pretend that I know stuff that I don't. That's not something I want to do. But at the same time, I also don't want to downplay my knowledge and put myself down. Another mistake that I've made is thinking all of my work colleagues are genuine friends. I've made some colleagues who have become really good friends, but I started off in my job just really thinking that all of my colleagues were like family. And that's not a bad thing, and I still think that it's good to go into a job being open-minded, like with an open heart, and willing to make lifelong friends, because that's what can come out of it. But I also want to take a step back as well. It's just not the same. Like, some people don't view you as a true friend for different reasons, and they might be in this position that I'm in now where they just view colleagues as colleagues, and that's fine. But I definitely don't want to be in a situation where I'm pouring out my heart and soul to people that I work with anymore. Another mistake that I think I've made is not doing residency. So residency is basically when you go to a hospital and you stay on site and you answer all of the calls and bleeps and stuff overnight, and basically you live on site whilst your shift is on. I've heard really bad things about residency because you can hold up to like 40 to 50 bleeps a night, and it can be really hard, and you are on hospital sites, it can be quite depressing. But I definitely wish that I'd done that at the early stages of my career, because you learn the most, I feel, when you are younger. I don't think you can forget that knowledge that you learn whilst you are a resident pharmacist. So if I could go back in time, I definitely would start off doing residency and then move up away from that lifestyle. You are in the trenches when you are doing residency pharmacy, but if I look at all the pharmacists and spot the good ones, I always tend to realise that they've done residency in the past. And that's when they've had to look up guidelines really quickly, they've had to answer calls really quickly and efficiently. And a lot of the skill sets that residency offer, I feel like something that I missed out on. Another mistake I've made is listening to other people's opinions on rotations. So if someone else has had a bad experience in a rotation, I've let that influence me, and so in the future, I don't want to do that. I have previously not applied to rotations because other people have had a bad experience or whatever. I've also done the same. I've advised people not to apply for a certain rotation because my experience wasn't good. But I also think that it's just good to just go and find out yourself. And rotations aren't for other people to gain from. It's for you to gain from. So even if you've heard something bad about rotation, I would say just walk into it with an open mind and get what you want out of it. At the end of the day, that rotation will be going on your CV. So think about what you want out of that rotation as opposed to other people's experiences of that rotation. That's something that I'm hoping to take forward with me. Another big mistake I've made is thinking that I need to come to London to learn. My whole family was up north in Newcastle area, and then I moved to London, and I thought that that kind of would be a revolutionary change. Like I was like, gonna learn so much, and it's London, it's so amazing. But actually, a hospital is a hospital. I found that there's certain things that are done in London hospitals that are not as advanced and definitely not as innovative, and actually like more backwards than it was up north. Some of the practices that I've seen up north in the hospitals were actually better. I wouldn't say that you have to move to London to learn a lot. Obviously it's great to have like, you know, well-known hospitals under your belt, under your CV, but at the same time, I wouldn't say it's life-changing. I have seen quite a few hospitals up north whilst I was doing my pre-registration, and then I worked in one, and then I came to London. So I've got like a good balance, and I've realised actually that it is not where you are where you're going to learn the most. It's the people that you're put with and how much work you're willing to put in. Another career mistake that I've made is always saying yes at the start of working. When I first started working, everything that anyone wanted me to do, I would say yes. Like, so if it was a weekend shift, I'd say yes. If someone needed help because they couldn't do on call and they were good friends of mine, I'd say yes. If there was a bank holiday or during COVID when they wanted extra people to work, I'd say yes. And I don't regret the time that I've spent saying yes to those people and doing those things, but I realized after a while that no one will put you first when you need that yes. It's nothing personal, it's just that I think it's good to establish your boundaries from the start. I'm not saying that you shouldn't work hard or that you shouldn't help people out when they need it, but going into a new job now, I'm definitely going to just establish my boundaries and work my normal hours and only do the extra shifts if I really want to do the extra shifts and if I really feel like I should do them, because a lot of the times I felt like I just said yes because I wanted to please people, and yeah, when it came to the time off that I needed, it wasn't always granted to me, so I learned that the hard way. Another career mistake I've made whilst working as a pharmacist in particular is responding emotionally to a day text. So there's a situation where I dispensed, like popped out a dossett box for a patient because there were changes to their medication, and when I came to the ward after a weekend, on the Monday morning I was told that the patient had received the wrong medication, and in ward round it was told like, oh, pharmacy have given the wrong medication, when actually the nurses had sent the patient home with the wrong dossett box. And this really like triggered me for some reason, and I was like, I dispensed the correct medication in this dossett box, so why are they blaming pharmacy? Yeah, it really made me emotionally angry, and I responded to the day text in a very emotional way. And my manager actually said to me like, you know, it's not always personal, you can just explain in a logical way what happened. And I really learned from that situation, because I was like, yeah, it's not about getting really mad and emotional and saying it wasn't me, it was the nurses, like it's not me against them. And we are blamed a lot of times for the medication mistakes, even if they've got nothing to do with us. So that's where it can like build up and get really frustrating. But yeah, now if I see a data text or if I made a mistake, I'm like, okay, that's fine, it happens, this is what happened, this is what I would do differently. And I guess I want to shift away from feeling any blame towards other people. I really do also wish that other healthcare professionals would, you know, not blame pharmacists for everything that's to do with medication, but it's not always necessarily our fault. But still, again, it's the way that you deal with it, and I think that that definitely comes with time. So I feel like that situation had to happen for me to learn from it. Another career mistake that I've made is moving hospital too fast. So like I said at the start of this video, I was working for a hospital for 2 months, and then mental health for 7 months, and then I had a long stretch in a London hospital for 3 years, 2.5 years. In that 2.5 years, I was able to see more of the systems and more of the processes of that hospital to be able to really find out what happens from start to finish. I got to see more of like the bigger picture, and I took on more responsibility as well because I was there for longer. So when I was in certain other hospitals for a shorter length of time, I kind of just dipped in and out, and I didn't really end up solving anything. I didn't really solve any queries because I didn't see the full cycle, if you know what I mean. So I think that the good thing about staying longer in a hospital is you learn how to solve queries better, because you understand different departments better, you've rotated in different rotations. So I would say don't move hospital too fast. But that leads me on to my next point, which is only thinking that the NHS is an option. So it's very easy to start working in an NHS hospital and think that being a band 6, then a band 7, then a band 8 is the only way to go. This year I've seen a lot of my friends walk into all sorts of different career options within pharmacy. For example, GP and industry and healthcare tech and IT and stuff like that. So I'm saying don't move hospital too fast, but also if you know that it's not right for you and if you think a certain place isn't good for you, then definitely leave as well. So it's like a balance, right? Like only you know what's right for you. If you think you can stick it out and you can enjoy it and you can sort of understand some processes better and you want to stay in a hospital for longer, then good for you. But if you also know that you want to explore other avenues of pharmacy, then recognize that. Give yourself that respect and move on. I hope that makes sense. And my final biggest career mistake is also over-explaining everything and giving reasons for my annual leave. When it comes to annual leave, you're not entitled to give those reasons. Working for the NHS can be difficult because it is quite short-staffed at the moment, and I feel like it's really overwhelming sense of need to just explain to people I need this annual leave because I need to go to the GP because I've got this issue and I need to have this seen. I feel like I'm fighting for it when actually you don't have to volunteer that information. Unless specifically asked, you don't have to give that information. So moving forwards, I just want to be a little less emotional when it comes to work and just apply for the days that I want off, not necessarily give my reasons and go forwards from there. A lot of the mistakes that I made have come from being emotional within the job, but I think as time goes on, and I guess I'm also maturing a little bit hopefully as well, I'm realizing that there's no need to attach so many emotions into certain things. It's easier just to not over-explain. When it comes to data X's, respond calmly, respond logically, and that is what professionalism is. So I am learning a lot. So yeah, I hope that this video has helped in some way. Let me know what your biggest career mistakes are and what you've learned from them, because I want to know if all of the things that I've just said are just me or whether other people have felt the same as well. I hope that you've enjoyed this video and I shall see you in the next one. Bye!